Hi, this is the scripture and scrapping for the month of May, and I couldn't decide. I like 2 verses, and so I'll probably do 2 different layouts and use one on each layout, or I might use both verses on one layout. I'm not sure, but the 2 verses I wanted to do were to do with wind and waves and all the things that God is in control of. So there's a couple of different verses. One is Matthew 8:27, and the men marveled, saying, "What manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him?" That's Matthew 8:27. And then the other one, I've never thought about this as to do with the wind and the pilot, but I read it recently and thought I like that one too. And it says, James 3:4, "Look at the ships also. Though they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are guided by a very small rudder wherever the will of the pilot directs." Our pilot being God and his control over all of the small things and big things in our lives. So those are the 2 verses I liked. And a while back, I think about a year ago, I saw a beautiful quilt and I wanted to do a design with that. And this is a sketch. So I did this at a retreat at Magnolia Manor with lots of quilts. And but thinking about the wind, I thought, oh, I'd like to do something. And the kites upside down kind of made me think of sailboats and to do with our verses. Kites, I tried the kite punch. It did not work so well for a sailboat. So I have a couple of other ideas that I'll talk to you about after we put the basic quilt design together. So let me get started with that. You'll need an 8x8 piece. That's what we're going to put together the quilt pieces on. And then you're going to lay that on a 10x10 piece of paper, and then put that on a 11x11, and then lay that over 2 sheets of 12x12 paper. We'll also be adding a border to one of the 2 sides of that, one of the 12x12 pieces. So we're going to put all that together. If you do not have a 10x10 sheet that matches your 12x12, you could use a different one, or as Clara pointed out, and I had kind of noticed, but I hadn't done anything with this, you could cut an 11x11 and then cut out a 1/2 inch frame all around, and then lay it over your 12x12 sheets. And then it gives that same impression of having the 10x10 in here if you lay your 8x8 on top of that. But I'm just going to go with the easy way because I have plenty of paper, and so that's just an option. So I'm going to move everything except for the 8x8 for right now, because that's what we're going to put together the quilt on. And I'm just going to put that here on my mat, and I'm going to center it, not center it, but put it where it's at a 1 inch mark. I think I'll do it down here at the bottom because this is 8x8. So I want to center everything at the 4-inch marks. So you're going to have 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, and 4 here. It might say 8 or 4 to be your marks. Now you can either draw a little pencil line or use a mat to do that. The first thing that's easy to do is you're going to use your corners. And these are made from 2x2 inch squares cut diagonally. You could use all the same color, or you could alternate like I did in the sketch, and I think I'll go ahead and do it here. So I'm just adding those to each corner. That's an easy thing because you can just match up your edges. Then we have some 1 by 1 inch squares, and we have 8 of one color, 8 of the other color. I'm using a piece of paper that I could use both sides, so I'm just alternating. But we're going to start at this middle mark. It's 4 inches from each side, and we're going to place it at 3 to 4 with 1, and I'm going to actually do 4 to 5 on that side so I can keep the colors kind of contrasting. I didn't want to put the dark blue next to the dark blue, so I'm going to put the light blue here at the 3 to 4. And it doesn't have to exactly line up. Quilts have little imperfections because they're made by people. We're all a little imperfect, or a lot imperfect some days. So even my squares look a little imperfect, but we're going to go with it for right now. And then I'll do another one over here. I'm going to look at my diagram too, because I can't remember exactly. I did that. Okay, so sometimes you are going to have your colors kind of next to each other on the corners, but I'm just alternating that because when I end up, I want to be able to do the colors alternating, but we'll wait on that for just a minute. I am using repositionable tape so that if I mess up, I can just move it around a little bit. So these 2 squares should meet at the 4-inch mark on each side. Okay, so we've got that all the way around. Then we're going to start here and add a square at the corner. Then take another square and add to that corner. It may not touch exactly. You can kind of space them out just a little bit. Gives it a little bit space in between. And we're going to go the same way all the way around, starting at the corners of those pieces we've already laid out at those middle marks. And you can see I'm alternating colors. You could do all one color if you like. You could do more than one color. It's up to you. You can use cardstock or designer paper, whatever's in your stash that you want to use for this layout. I think you can kind of see how it's coming together now. So that's our pieces on the outside here. Then we have 4 more triangles, and this is also again a 2-inch square cut diagonally, and in the directions on the sketch I had a different measurement. I'm sorry about that. It is the same size as these corners. So you're going to center that up. in the middle here. And you want it, following that 4-inch line, you want your diamond to your pieces to line up on that 4-inch line vertically and horizontally. I did not think to check and see how long we've been doing. I think it's been about 10 minutes. So we only usually have a guarantee of 15. So if I run out of time on the decorations, I will make sure and put those measurements and information in the comments. But this is a basic quilt. That's going to be the middle. If you're doing an 8.5 by 11 or slightly asymmetrical, the older Creative Memories page size, the 11.5 by 12, this should still fit on any of those. You may have to adjust your other measurements. You can also add your faux stitching if you want. Once you start it, you have to continue all the way if you know, but you do not have to do that. But I like to do that just because it gives it a little bit more of that quilt pattern. But this is that middle. Now I'm going to lay that on this 10 by 10 piece, and I'm going to center that up. Go ahead and put that there. So I should have 1 inch all the way around. And I don't have very much adhesive on the back, so that's not going to work. Okay, and then I'm going to put that on an 11 by 11 piece of white cardstock. Just make that really stand out on our base pieces. You'll have about a 1/2 inch, and I'm just eyeballing this because I don't want to run out of time before I get it all laid out for you. And I forgot my trimmer. Hold on just a minute. I did not remember that I needed the trimmer because I'm going to cut this, and you can cut on either this side or this side, or you can cut it straight down the middle, however you want to do it. I like to cut it where one side's a little bit bigger than the other. So I'm going to go with right here at this second line of squares. I'm going to use my guide to make sure I'm in the right spot. Kind of centered up a little, really well. Okay. And because this is several pieces of paper, I made sure I went back and forth. And then I will lay that on my 2 base sheets here in the middle. I'm going to scoot this way a little bit. And I like the 11 by 11 because that gives you a little bit at the top and bottom of your base page showing, keeping that frame look. Okay, and the last thing I had in the original design was a 2 1/4 inch strip, like this, which I'm going to set over here to the side, just barely on the paper. I'm going to scoot this over here so you can see, maybe 1/2 inch or less. That you can do that. And then this is a 1 1/2 by 11, so you can see it's going to match up with here. And we'll add that right there. Now I'm going to add some other sailboat designs, and these were all designed by Chrislyn Matai, and I'm going to give you the YouTube names that I got the ideas from in case we run out of time. I'm going to keep going just in case we don't, but she designed these two sailboats, one for a border here and one for the middle. So I'm going to do, and also for, you'll notice on the verse here, I added this. This is also part of her design. All the measurements and everything are on her videos. I would advise watching those because she explains things so well. If you don't have this little rolling sailboat border maker cartridge and the rickrack, if you're coming to my house, please feel free to borrow. Or you could also personalize this. A cruise boat would also work. And a layout we did a few years ago, we punched with this geometric, and then you can cut these apart, these arches, and it gives you two little sailboats there. So those are some other ideas for sailboats. But she did something really cool. She punched the rolling sail and then the rolling rickrack and double rickrack, and then the rolling sail border maker cartridge. And please watch her video to see how she did that, and then combine them. She also added a circle behind it. I added a half circle because I'm going to add it here, and then I don't want to cover up my diamond, so I'm going to use a ring. She used a solid circle in her design. And I'm going to add that there. And then I'm going to add these sailboats and a sun. And I can see I'm going to have to trim off my little waves when we get finished here. But these are some of the rickracks that were left after you did that. And I'm going to just pinch off a little bit, add them for a little bit more interest here. And I will be trimming a little bit after we finish that. So that's the middle. And then she cut a little wedge, and that's where I did our verse. I'll be adding that. You can see we have room for photos here and photos here. These are more vertical sized or 4x4. These you could do 6x4s. Then she also had a really cute sailboat design with larger sailboats, and I'm going to get at least one on here and put my mat back up here so I can center it. Move this out of the way for a minute. Thank you for your patience with me while I'm getting these all in place. So I'm putting this at about the 6-inch mark, and these little sailboat measurements and how to make them are also in her video that I'm going to list. And, oops, I had them all laid out here, and now I've kind of messed them all up while I'm working here. Okay, so sails. We'll take those. And you can see what this looks like there. And so I centered that, and then I've got more. You can see we've got big sails and small sails. And you can fit 5 of these if I've measured right. In hers, she did them horizontally. I went ahead and did this vertically because I wanted to go up and down on the side of the page. There you go. And I think one of my sails has sailed away, but I'll find it after the video and bring it back. So you see, that's how that would go. She also added some little flags on here. Really cute. If I use the other verse on here, I'll probably put it up here somewhere or over here so I could have, I think I'll probably will use both. And I'll add some of the rack waves with that. Cut some of those off. But you can see how she used a couple of different border maker cartridges to make it really cute. It's weird now at 21 minutes it says, so I'm hoping all of this recorded. If it doesn't, like I said, I will be putting it on the description. Thank you so much, and I pray that these verses bless you like they have me.